The $17 material on every hardware store shelf right now drops your indoor temperature by a full 50 degrees with zero electricity, zero moving parts, and zero monthly bills. Physics proven in a federal laboratory in 1973, used by the ancient Greeks on every building they ever constructed, used by the Roman military to keep entire garrison cities alive through Mediterranean summers, still used today by every whitewashed village on the Mediterranean coastline, because nothing developed in the last 100 years has improved on it. Then a $200 billion industry decided you should never learn its name, not because it failed, not because something better came along, but because a $17 bag that permanently eliminates your air conditioning need cannot be billed monthly, cannot be installed for $12,000, and cannot generate a service contract, a filter replacement, or a replacement unit every 12 years. They buried it because it solved a problem they built a $350 billion industry on keeping unsolved. Welcome to Forbidden Camping, where we crack open every vault the comfort industry buries under building codes and HOA regulations. Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss one. In 1973, a researcher at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory painted a flat rooftop with simple hydrated lime powder mixed with water, the exact recipe Greek grandmothers had used for 3,000 years, and that white surface dropped its temperature by 40 degrees compared to the dark roof beside it, eliminated the building's need for mechanical cooling for the entire summer, and proved that a $14 hardware store bag outperformed a $5,000 air conditioning system in a federally funded laboratory. That report was filed, indexed, and never mentioned in a single consumer publication or building code revision. Then in 2021, Professor Ruin at Purdue developed a coating that reflects 98.1% of all incoming solar radiation, generating 10 kilowatts of continuous cooling output per 1,000 square feet, more than your entire central AC system produces while consuming zero electricity. Certified by Guinness as the whitest surface ever measured, covered by CNN, the Smithsonian, and every major science outlet on Earth. And then the industry responded with complete and total silence. Not one manufacturer reformulated, not one building code moved, not one utility company told you that a $17 material would cut your cooling bill by 75%. The science was airtight, the record was certified, the silence was deliberate. The Minoans solved summer heat in 1500 BC by burning limestone, mixing it with water and painting every wall, every roof, and every floor white, holding interior temperatures at 72 degrees when the outside air hit 95. With no electricity, no refrigerant, and no machinery of any kind. The technique spread across the entire Mediterranean, not because anyone mandated it, but because it worked everywhere limestone existed, and the physics of solar reflection does not respect borders. The Greeks painted every building on every island white every single spring as automatically as planting crops, not for aesthetics, for survival. The Romans codified it into military construction specifications and kept garrison soldiers alive in Damascus and Carthage through heat that exceeded 100 degrees outside. The Ottomans carried it forward across 6 centuries and 3 continents as standard building practice because in a climate with no mechanical cooling, it was simply the difference between functional and uninhabitable. Every builder, every soldier, and every grandmother who mixed a bucket of powder with water every spring for 3,000 continuous years understood this without a federal study, without a building code, and without a contractor. Then the air conditioning industry was born, and within 50 years, the most universally applied passive cooling technology in human history had become something almost nobody in the developed world had ever heard of. Not because it stopped working, because it stopped generating revenue. But stay right here with me now, because the application details go deeper than anything history alone can prove. But first, everything you have seen in this video so far is barely scratching the surface of what was buried and what I collected. Every technique, every suppressed study, every ancient method with modern scientific validation, every practical application the comfort industry spent decades pushing out of consumer awareness. All of it is inside the complete Forbidden Outdoor Vault package. Passive cooling methods that cost under $20 and eliminate mechanical cooling dependency entirely. Off-grid power generation systems the utility industry lobbied out of building codes. Emergency shelter designs that maintain survivable temperatures in conditions that kill people with expensive commercial gear, water systems that function completely without utility connections, food preservation that eliminates refrigeration dependency. Over 10 complete documented guides, zero filler, every technique sourced and actionable starting today. The link is in the description below this video. But stay right here because this is where it stops being history and starts being something you can do this weekend. Now here is the part that turns physics and history into something deliberately personal, and I need you to follow the specific language because the language is where the truth is always hidden. Homeowner associations across 29 states carry explicit provisions in their governing documents that prohibit what they describe as highly reflective roofing materials or non-standard roof colorings in residential communities. That language sounds like an aesthetic standard. It is not an aesthetic standard. It is an economic weapon written in aesthetic language. The template for that provision was drafted by legal teams representing roofing industry associations and distributed through real estate industry channels to HOA boards across the country over a period of more than 15 years. The board members who voted to adopt it believed they were maintaining neighborhood appearance standards. They were actually codifying a prohibition on the single most effective passive cooling technology ever documented at the exact moment when summer temperatures and electricity costs were both rising to historic levels simultaneously. The International Energy Conservation Code, the IECC, which forms the basis for residential building codes in most American jurisdictions, contains specific provisions governing roof solar reflectance in residential construction. Those provisions were substantially shaped by working groups that included representatives from major roofing manufacturers whose standard products reflect between 5 and 25% of incoming solar radiation, not 98%, not even 80%, 5 to 25%. The code requirements for new construction in most residential zones require reflectance levels that a dark gray asphalt shingle satisfies easily. A lime-washed surface exceeds those requirements by a factor of 4. The code was written to accommodate the product, not to optimize the outcome for the person living under the roof. The global roofing industry generates $200 billion annually. The global air conditioning and cooling industry generates $150 billion annually on top of that. Those two industries share a structural economic dependency that is rarely stated plainly but is completely obvious once you see it. Dark roofs that absorb maximum solar radiation and transfer that heat into building interiors create the demand for mechanical cooling systems. Mechanical cooling systems create the monthly electricity bills that fund the utility industry. The utility industry funds the political infrastructure that shapes the building codes that mandate the dark roofs. It is a closed loop worth $350 billion annually, and every single node in that loop depends on you never putting a $7 bag of white powder on your roof surface. Here's exactly what to do, and I want you to write this down because this is the specific actionable knowledge that $350 billion in combined annual revenue exists to keep out of your hands. Go to any hardware store and purchase one 50-pound bag of Type S hydrated lime from the masonry section. It will cost between $9 and $14. Purchase one box of titanium dioxide powder from the paint section or online. It costs $6 to $8 for a 1-pound container. Combined material cost, $15 to $20. This is your complete heat elimination system. Mix the hydrated lime with water at a ratio of 1 part lime powder to 2 parts clean water. Stir thoroughly until the consistency resembles thin whole milk with no visible lumps remaining. Add 2 tablespoons of titanium dioxide powder per gallon of mixed lime wash and stir again until fully integrated. The titanium dioxide increases your solar reflectance from approximately 85% for plain lime wash to 94 to 96%. Pushing your coating into the performance range of Professor Ruan's Purdue formulation at a fraction of the research cost. Apply the mixture to your roof surface using a thick nap paint roller or a broad brush, 2 full coats. Allow the first coat to dry completely, minimum 4 hours in warm, dry conditions, before applying the second coat. The coating bonds directly to asphalt shingles, metal roofing, concrete tiles, wood shake, and built-up flat roofing surfaces without primer. Total application time for an average 1,500 square foot roof, 1 afternoon. Total material cost, $17 to $20. Total electricity consumed during application, 0. Total permit requirements in most jurisdictions for a surface coating that does not alter structural elements, none. The thermal results are not subtle and they are not gradual. They are immediate and they are dramatic. Your roof surface temperature under full sun exposure will drop from 140 to 160 degrees on a dark surface to 85 to 95 degrees on the lime titanium coated surface within the first hour of full sun exposure. That 50 to 70 degree drop in roof surface temperature translates directly into your attic. An attic that reaches 140 to 150 degrees through a dark roof in July will stabilize at 90 to 95 degrees through a coated roof under identical conditions. That 50-degree attic temperature reduction translates into your living space. Interior rooms that hit 88 to 95 degrees on summer afternoons will stabilize at 72 to 78 degrees under the same outdoor conditions with the same windows and the same insulation and the same everything except the surface your roof presents to the sun. A homeowner in Texas applied this exact formula to his 1 out of 800 square foot ranch home in June of last year. His attic temperature dropped from 147 degrees to 94 degrees within the first full day of sun exposure after coating. His master bedroom, which had been hitting 91 degrees by 3 in the afternoon every day for 6 years, stabilized at 74 degrees the following week without his air conditioning running at all. His July electricity bill fell from $340 to $67. His total material cost for the entire roof application was $31 for a house larger than average. He estimated his first-year savings at over $1,400. He reapplied in the spring of the following year as the coating had thinned slightly over winter. 2 hours, $17. His neighbors asked him why his house looked slightly different on the roof line. He told them. 3 of them did their roofs the following weekend. Now compare that investment with complete honesty. A new central air conditioning system installation runs $6,000 to $15,000 paid entirely upfront. Monthly electricity at summer peak consumption runs $200 to $400 every single month in a hot climate. Annual maintenance contracts, filter replacements, and refrigerant recharges add $300 to $600 every year on top of that. A replacement unit every 10 to 14 years, or $17 of powder, 2 hours on a Saturday, and the same physics the Minoans used on Crete in 1500 BC that nobody has ever managed to improve on in any meaningful way because the physics of solar reflection is not a technology problem. It was always a revenue problem, and the revenue problem was never yours.